Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. I am Kellen Hinkey, and I am a mental health therapist with Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center. And today we are going to be talking about stress management tips and tricks. So during the presentation, I will be accepting questions, and those can be submitted in the Q&A feature in Teams. And at Hiawatha Valley, we care about your mental wellness. So if you are experiencing any discomfort throughout this presentation, or if you need any crisis intervention, please use our crisis line to consult with a professional. And that phone number is listed below. So today, we are going to be talking about what stress is. We are going to identify common stressors and reactions to stress. We are going to describe what is unhelpful versus helpful stress, as well as reviewing a variety of coping strategies. So first of all, what is stress? Well, it can be defined in a lot of different ways, but according to the American Institute of Stress, it is a condition or feeling experienced when a person perceives that demands exceed the personal and social resources the individual is able to mobilize, which basically means that it is when somebody's perceiving a threat, a situation, or an event as something they are not able to handle or manage. And it can also be viewed as a physical, mental, or emotional strain or tension. So stress is very, very common. Everybody experiences stress in some way. And there was an online study done in 2019 by the American Psychological Association, and it was done with about 3,600 adults ages 18 and older living in the US. And they had reported that more than 3/4 of them have experienced physical or emotional symptoms of stress, such as headache, feeling tired, or changes in their sleeping habits. 44% of the adults surveyed said they use exercise or walking to manage stress. 47% say that they listen to music, and more than 37% spend time with friends or family. Nearly half of the adults surveyed have said they have laid awake at night because of stress in the past month. And nearly 3 in 5 of the adults surveyed said they could have used some more emotional support in the past year. So like I had said, everybody experiences stress, but the types of stressors that people face vary. So I had just brainstormed some examples. There could be plenty more added to this list, but these are some examples of stressors that people face. Stressors in their relationships with divorce or separation, social isolation, sexuality or gender identity, bullying, peer pressure, family dynamics, pregnancy, the death of a loved one, mental health or substance use in the family, having an unsafe living environment, any trauma or violence, moving or relocating, school, college, finances, time, schedule, social media or the news, health or medical conditions, employment, legal involvement, incarceration, and transportation. Like I had said, those are just some examples of different stressors that people face. So what happens when we get stressed? Well, first of all, if we perceive something to be a threat or some type of danger, our body reacts to keep us safe. And it doesn't have to be an actual threat, but if we feel uncomfortable or if we think we aren't able to accomplish or manage that situation, we still may view it as a threat. Maybe a threat to our physical or emotional safety, our reputation, not being able to accomplish a goal or something like that. So then our body goes into fight, flight, or freeze mode. So this may happen if we were face to face with a lion, or even if we are called on in class and we aren't prepared to answer the question. Our body may react in both of those situations. So our nervous system produces an well, it has an increase in production of hormones, which are chemicals that travel throughout our body to send messages. So the hormones of cortisol and adrenaline are increased, and then those hormones affect all other systems in our body. There are many images out there that show how stress affects our bodies, but I thought this was a pretty simple one. So stress can affect our mind, our body, and our mood, and it can affect all systems and all parts of our body. So maybe our muscles tense up, or we breathe faster, or have like a shortness of breath, harder time breathing. Our heart rate might increase, or we have an increase in stress hormones, like I had mentioned, increase in energy levels, and we may have some issues with our gut and our GI tract, including heartburn, bloating, nausea, irritable bowels. And like I had mentioned before, our nervous system will help us go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. But then there are some other examples on there, like our pupils dilate, our mouth goes dry, maybe we sweat, blood pressure rises. So it's just very important to be aware of how your body reacts to stress, because that can be very helpful, so then you know when you should start to intervene. And we're going to get into that deeper as we go. So stress can be helpful or unhelpful because of the physiological responses that our body has to stress. It can also increase our focus, our concentration, and our awareness. So stress can be helpful to a certain point. So when we are excited about something and there's no perceived threat, our heart rate might still increase and our hormones might still surge, but we are still able to focus and concentrate better because of those increases and those reactions. So some examples of when stress can be good or helpful include if you are participating in any sports or athletic events, if you're riding on a roller coaster, going on a first date, taking a test, giving a presentation, a job interview, things like that. And we're able to use our physiological responses to help us focus or concentrate and feel more prepared. So when we have had too much stress, or if we continue to be exposed to stressful situations over and over again, then it can become too much to handle, and then it can become unhelpful. So on this image here, it says good stress and bad stress. I like to view it as helpful or unhelpful because it's not a bad thing if you have stress. So in this image at the bottom, it says, I am so bored. So that is just having low performance expectations and low stress levels. And then as you start to have to be more invested in your goal or project or whatever you're doing, you might start to be paying more attention, right? So your stress is increasing a little bit and you're starting to be more invested. At the peak of the curve, you're like, I'm rocking it, I'm feeling great, I am doing so well, and you're feeling like really good. But then if you aren't able to keep your stress to be at a more manageable level, that's when it can start to become unhelpful. Maybe your body starts to have some of those reactions that we had talked about, or other things too. So then you're starting to freak out a little bit. It's getting too much. I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. And then maybe you crash and burn. So like I had said before, it is important to be aware of how your body reacts to stress. So then you know when you've hit your peak and then when it's starting to become too much to handle. So how can you turn unhelpful stress to being more helpful? Well, first of all, you want to focus on the resources that you do have. And you want to see the potential benefits or the potential good things that could come from meeting this goal or from like handling it and making it through. You also want to focus on how you have strengths, because all of us have strengths. So you want to focus on those and really figure out how can you use those to help you get through this. And then just overall trying to have more of a positive mindset. I think this is a good image that describes how stress can affect us and why it's important to find healthy ways to cope with it. So as you can see here, it says we are faced with this stressor, and then it says maybe you feel awful, or just maybe you're having some type of physiological response to it, and that's making you feel a little bit uncomfortable, jittery, whatever it is. And if you are using a negative or an unhealthy coping strategy, that will help you feel better in the short term, but it's not helping you build those healthy habits or helping you learn how to continually manage this stress. So then eventually that coping skill isn't as helpful, and then you are faced with that stressor again, and then you are feeling more stressed and overwhelmed. So it's that cycle. If you choose to use a positive or a healthy coping strategy, that is going to help you feel better for a longer period of time over time, because you are able to build those skills and really find things that help you manage it. So how do we cope with stress? So we are going to talk about a variety of different coping strategies, and we're going to do some practicing as well. So first of all, there are a lot of different unhealthy ways to cope with stress or bigger emotions, such as drugs, alcohol, or using substances, bullying, aggression, isolation, self-harming, skipping school or work, lack of sleep or sleeping too much, poor nutrition, and procrastination. These things may help you in the short term, but they also may potentially have more consequences in other aspects of your life, which can then lead to more stress and keep that cycle going. There are lots and lots of options for healthy coping strategies. These are just some. There could be plenty more added onto this list, but here are some examples. Exercise, nutrition, getting adequate sleep, taking a bath, avoiding excess caffeine, avoiding substance use, relaxation exercises, assertive communication, changing your negative thoughts, stretching, deep breathing, journaling or poetry, drawing, coloring, or art, prayer, church, spending time with a pet, going for a walk, talking with a support or family or friend, watching funny videos, listening to music, doing some hobbies that you enjoy, dancing or singing, or using stress balls or fidgets. It's super important for you to find which coping strategies work best for you. So I'm going to share a couple of examples more in depth, and then we're going to actually practice a few as well. So this topic is actually one of my favorite things to talk about. I could do my own webinar on this because I think it's just so powerful and so important. So our thoughts and feelings and behaviors or actions are so closely connected, and they all affect each other. If we are experiencing a negative, anxious, or depressive thought, that can affect our feelings and emotions as well as our actions. An example is that if you have to take a test, and let's say you are telling yourself, you're thinking, I'm going to fail. There's no way I'm going to pass this. I'm going to bomb it. I'm going to fail. That is probably going to make you feel more unmotivated, maybe frustrated, anxious, or maybe even angry. And that's probably going to make you procrastinate, not study, or just put everything off. If you change your thought to be more positive, more helpful, such as, I know this, I'm going to pass, I'm going to do so well, I know all this information, that is going to help you feel more motivated, more confident, more prepared, which is going to probably help you actually want to study and focus, right? So yeah, so that was a very basic example, but it's just super important to be aware of your negative thoughts, and you have the power and the control to change them to be more positive. And it takes practice to do this, but after you keep doing it over and over again, it will help your brain to kind of think more positively in the beginning, or it will make it easier for you to change those thoughts to being more positive. And mindfulness is another huge topic. Maybe you have heard this phrase or not, but mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we are doing. and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what is going on around us. Basically, what that means is that mindfulness is being fully aware of our surroundings and our experiences in the present moment without judging ourselves. We all have the ability to be mindful, but it takes a lot of practice. It takes time. And our brains just naturally want to think about all of these things. We have to-do lists. We have things we have to do tomorrow. We have things we forgot to do. We are thinking about all of these things, especially during a time like this, right? So during a pandemic, we have all of this information being thrown at us. We have all of these questions. We're trying to make the best decisions. We have all of this stuff going on. So it is more challenging for us to really be present and be mindful and be aware and in tune of how we are doing and how we're feeling. I love this picture. I think this also is a perfect description of mindfulness. So as you can see, the scene is a park with some green, pretty trees, and it's nice and sunny out, right? So you see the human here is walking with the dog, and the human is thinking about like 1,000 things. There's all of these things on their mind. They are not aware of where they are. They are not focused at all on their present experience. The dog is focusing on exactly what is going on around him. He's like, I'm on a walk in a park and it is pretty and it's sunny and I am with my human, and he is being very mindful, but the human's mind is full. So I think that is just a great picture to explain that. So we're going to talk about how you practice being mindful. So first of all, you just want to set aside some time. You do not need to have any special equipment, any special tools. You just need to have the time set aside to practice and some space to do it in. And you just want to observe the present moment as it is. Our mind is going to naturally wander. We are naturally going to start thinking about all of those things I had mentioned, our to-do list, all the questions, whatever, and that's okay. Our whole point of being mindful is to bring our awareness and attention back to the present moment. And if your mind does wander, it's okay. Don't be upset. Don't be down on yourself or judging yourself. It's okay. It's going to happen. Just bring your mind back to the present moment and where you are and how you are feeling right now. So we're going to actually practice being mindful right now for 1 minute. And how we do that is that, first of all, I want you to just feel comfortable in your chair, lay down, whatever you want to do, but just be in a comfortable position. And then we are going to take some deep breaths. So how you take a deep breath is that you breathe in through your nose slowly, out through your mouth slowly. The whole purpose is taking deep breaths in slow and then out slow. And as we're doing this exercise, you are going to just sit there, and if you feel comfortable to close your eyes, go ahead and do that. And then just focus on taking deep breaths in and then deep breaths out. And if your mind wanders, that's okay. Just bring it back to your breath, bring it back to the present moment and where you are right now. So we're going to do this for 1 minute. I'm going to time us and I will let you know when it has passed. So ready, set, go. And when you are ready, you can return back, open your eyes, So for those of you who participated, just be aware of how that felt for you. If this is an exercise that could be helpful, keep in mind that it does take time to practice. It takes time for it to feel more natural and for your mind to wander less and less. So all it takes is a minute or two to really stop, take a quick break, and recenter yourself. So hopefully this is a coping strategy that you can add to your toolbox for the future. And we talked about deep breathing already, but deep breathing is a very, very powerful coping strategy, and you can use it anywhere, anytime, because all of us have to breathe, right? We all have to breathe to live. And with deep breathing, you are just being more focused and more intentional with your breaths. So there are so many different ways to practice deep breathing, but these are just a few exercises you can do where, like, yes, you could print off some shapes, draw shapes on a piece of paper, but they would just be tracing one side of the shape as you breathe in, and then slowly tracing another side as you breathe out. And for some people, tracing, objects on paper, that can be helpful to have them focus as well. There's also some different options of counting. So for this example, you would breathe in for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7, and then breathe out for 8. And if that seems too long, you can speed up your counting. But that sequence of numbers has been shown to be helpful with breathing and relaxation. Grounding is one of my personal favorite mindfulness exercises. This helps if you feel out of control. If you feel that you have lost control, if you are on the brink of having an anxiety attack, or you are currently having one, or just anything about feeling out of control, grounding can be very helpful. So this brings you back to the present moment and your surroundings by using your 5 senses. So for this example, you would go through and either say out loud or say it in your head. So once again, you can use this anywhere, anytime, but it would be you just like listing off 5 things that you see. So for me, I see my lamp, I see my computer, I see my water bottle, I see my mouse. 4 things that you can feel, and that's physically feel. So I feel the cushion of my chair, I feel a breeze from a fan, I feel my carpet underneath my feet, things like that. Maybe you're laying in your bed, you feel a fuzzy warm blanket, maybe you're outside and feel a breeze, things like that. 3 things you can hear. So I hear myself talking, I hear my fan going, maybe you hear people outside, maybe you hear people in another room. 2 things you can smell, maybe somebody was cleaning or cooking, or there's a candle, maybe you smell fresh cut grass outside. And then 1 thing you can taste. Maybe you recently ate or drank something, maybe you brushed your teeth, things like that. So it'd just be you really focusing on things around you, your present moment, your present surroundings. And by doing that, that is focusing your thought on the present moment and not being stuck in the past or jumping ahead to the future. Visualization, also known as guided imagery, is when you imagine a peaceful and relaxing scene, and this can help to let go of tension and stress. So you can do this on your own or with the help of a YouTube video, a meditation app, an audio recording, and you want to choose whatever scene is nice and relaxing for you. There are so many options of scripts and recordings out there. Some examples include being on a beach or being in the woods, going hiking, going on a walk, laying in a hammock, being in a hot air balloon. So you want to find whatever is peaceful and relaxing for you. And then if you are listening to a video or an audio recording, you just want to close your eyes and then imagine that peaceful place and try to picture it as vividly as you can using your senses again. So things that you would hear if you were in that scene, or things you would see or smell, taste, and feel. And by doing that, that once again helps you to focus on that specific scene and not on other things. Progressive muscle relaxation is when you really focus on muscle tension due to stress. So it has 2 steps. So you tense your muscles and then you relax your muscles. And there are plenty of audio recordings online or YouTube videos, and it can walk you through that. So like in this picture here, it is having you start at your feet and then you slowly work your way up through different body parts, finishing up at your forehead. So I'm going to have us do a really shortened version of this just so you can kind of feel what it's like. So we're going to focus on our toes and our hands today. So I just want you to take your toes and tense and curl them as hard as you can for 5 seconds. So for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, wiggle them, relax your feet. I personally like to repeat things twice for this, so we are going to do that again. So curl your toes, tense for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax them, wiggle them out. And then we're going to jump up to our hands. So take your hands, put them into fists, squeeze as hard as you can for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax, wiggle them out, move your wrists, shake them out. We're going to do that one more time. So squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax and wiggle them out. So like I said, you can do other body parts. So maybe if you carry stress or tension in your chest or your shoulders or wherever, it might be helpful to also target those body parts as well. But it's really just tensing your muscles and then relaxing them. So just to review, this was a list of some options of healthy coping strategies. There are so many other options out there, and you just want to have multiple tools in your toolbox depending on the setting you're in and who you're with, what you have access to, etc. So maybe you would use certain coping strategies at home and different ones at work or out in public, just based off of what things you have access to, you know, where you are and whatnot. And it's also just important to find what works best for you because there are so many options out there. So to summarize today, everybody experiences stress, and stress affects our bodies in a variety of ways. Stress can be helpful or unhelpful. And like I've said a bunch of times already, find which coping strategies work best for you. Participants will be able to access a recorded version of this webinar as well as my slides on the website hbmhc.org and on HBMHC's Facebook page. And this is a slide of my resources, which will be posted. And these are just some websites, some resources for different coping strategies for deep breathing, grounding, visualization, progressive muscle relaxation. Like I had said, there are a lot of different options out there on YouTube and Pinterest, and you could easily Google them and find some, but these are just some like examples, some websites and resources. So at this time, I will be responding to any questions submitted in the Q&A feature. And if you haven't submitted one and want to, you have time right now to do so. And this is my personal contact information for work. So if you want to reach out to me with specific questions as well, my email address is on there, as well as my work cell phone that you can call or text. So we will see what questions. Okay, yes, so we had what coping strategies do you use for stress? So we had reviewed some of those, but some that I personally use, I like grounding. That is one of my favorites, and deep breathing. I do a lot of affirmations too, where I tell myself positive things like I feel calm, I feel relaxed, I feel in control, I am confident, I am prepared. I did that before this webinar today, and that even helped me just feel more confident and relaxed. But yeah, so I personally like to use deep breathing, grounding, affirmations, and working on changing my negative thoughts to being more positive. Exercise is another one that I use a lot as well. And then we had another question: do you feel stress balls and fidgets help to control stress? So I think they can be helpful, especially in the moment. Like for some people who need some easy way to kind of get some of their energy out, you can squeeze, a stress ball to help with that tension. So kind of similar to how we were squeezing our fists and relaxing them. I think stress balls and fidgets can also help with that too, if you have access to that. What are some of your go-to mindfulness interventions for anxiety versus self-harm and risk? Yeah, so something that I've talked about with clients with that, if it's more of like feeling maybe suicidal or, feeling really angry or irritable or super depressed, especially with those, changing your thoughts to being more positive, that can be huge. So really trying to find what are some affirmations you can tell yourself, like I am safe, or here are things I do have control over. That can be really helpful. For some clients, they like to do a gratitude list. So yeah, so listing off different things they are grateful for, positive things that have happened. Sometimes that can help to kind of shift some of that too. But yeah, I mean, I have clients who have made different types of safety plans, and we have a whole long list of different coping skills that really help them. And it will vary versus using exercise, gratitude or affirmations, changing their thoughts, talking to somebody, that can be really helpful as well. And then we have another question. How can I help my young child handle stress? What do you suggest? I think some of those coping skills on the healthy, like coping strategy list, I had all of those. You can try some of those too. I guess I can show you this because I have it right next to me, but I made a glitter jar for some of my younger kiddos. So you kind of take it, I think you can see it now, and you just kind of shake it, and then you watch all this glitter slowly kind of settle, and that can be calming for kids. I also use it myself, or so for adults too, but just that, having something to look at visually, that can be relaxing and calming. So and I bought these supplies and just like made it myself. Listening to calming music, or maybe playing some type of guided meditation. Some of those websites that I have on the resources page have some good options for that too. For certain kids who have some more energy, using exercise, so going outside, or even doing jumping jacks, or maybe trying yoga, doing some stretching. There are a lot of different options, so it's really important to kind of try out different things to see what helps you or your specific, child or whatnot, because different people respond differently to a variety of coping strategies. But I would say those would be some that I've used with younger kids, especially ones who have more energy, doing some more physical, stress balls, exercising, yoga, stretching, going outside and running around the block, versus other kids who maybe like to draw or color, or who would look at a glitter jar or listening to music. Those types of things can also help. And also, it's very important to be a positive support for your child. So by validating them and normalizing and saying, it's okay, you're feeling stressed or you're worried, that's okay. How can we handle it today? How can I help you today? What would be helpful? What would be good to help you feel better? Asking those types of questions as well, that can help the child feel like you are a support and you are there to kind of comfort them and help them through this. Any other questions? What techniques through online platforms have you noticed are helpful for children who have autism? Yes, that is a good question. I have found a website that is actually for kids who have autism. It has all of these different types of things on it. I don't know it offhand, but I can include that in my slides. and then when they're posted, you can access that. For some kids who have autism, it can be helpful for them to have structure, to have a routine, and to know what to expect. So maybe doing some type of, it's called a social story, but that is you really writing out and kind of spelling out how their day is going to go, or if there's a certain part of their day they have a hard time with like transitioning to, so maybe something changes in their day and then they have to go do this instead, helping them feel more prepared by knowing what to expect. So kind of having it written out of steps leading up to when that change is going to happen. And then you can also like brainstorm some different coping strategies they could use during that time. Once again, I think it kind of varies for each kid and their specific needs, but I can include that website in my slides, and then you can see if there's anything more helpful on that. Any other questions? We'll wait like another minute or so in case somebody wants to submit one more. Okay. Like I had said, my contact information is posted, so if you have more questions or if you want more specific information, please feel free to reach out. And we just want to say thank you all for your participation. If you would like some more information and resources, you can go to Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center's website at hvmhc.org, or you can call their office at 507-454-4341. And there's also information posted for the crisis response for Southeast Minnesota, and the website and the phone number 1-844-CRISIS-2. But thank you guys all again for investing in your mental health, your physical health, and taking time out of your day. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.